Oh, it didn't take long enough. We're still just shy, but you are go for lunch.
All right. Good evening and welcome. I would like to call the Wednesday, June 30th, 2021 Henrietta Town Board Special Use Permit meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Here.
Councilmember Stafford,
Here.
Councilmember Safranik,
Here.
Councilmember Bolzner,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. We'll begin with the pledge of the allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up, we have application number 2021-047, Henrietta Assembly Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, 272 Farrell Road Extension, to park 4 travel trailers to house volunteer workers for a maximum of 6 months in a residential R115 zone district, tax account number 188.01-1-7.12, or is more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office and posted online. Do we have representatives from the Assembly Hall present?
Yes, that'd be myself, Brian Harris, and Chris Paleo.
I'm here present.
Why don't you give us a little bit more description what you're looking to do? And
Sure, yeah, so our application was, as you mentioned, for 4 travel trailers. We have a maintenance project going on at the facility, and for much of our work, we use volunteers within our organization. And so our application was to house some of those volunteers while we do some of this finishes work, maintenance work inside of the facility. We are expecting the duration to be approximately 6 months. We were hoping to park the trailers close to the maintenance garage, where we'd be able to grab our utilities, and then also back behind the red barn, back a little bit further on the property where there's also utilities that could be made use of. So that's just a quick overview of what our request was.
are the trailers air conditioned?
Yes.
That's it. Go ahead. I'm just looking at the map. Go ahead, Mike.
It says, in your letter, it says, because these volunteers have been displaced due to the pandemic. Are you saying they can't stay at a hotel?
Maybe Chris could comment on that.
Yeah, so normally, because this is a volunteer, they would be coming in and be housed in maybe a shared living arrangement. And because of that location, we had to kind of change up how we would normally have that done. Obviously, yeah, there could be options where we could rent locations, but some of these already have their locations that they have. So they're bringing their trailer from their location and bringing it on site so that we can have them nearby. It just makes logistical sense that they were there. And the pandemic has put a little bit of stress on how we normally would operate. So that is why we have requested that.
One of the concerns I have, and maybe this is a question for Don, is, setting a precedent for, if construction crews come in or anybody comes in, that they move their crews to trailers on the property instead of hotels or someplace else.
I guess one of the questions, has there ever been a precedent? I don't know if the town clerks would know that, if we've ever had something like this approved before.
Not to my knowledge.
When we say travel trailers,
Yeah, what are the travel trailers?
what does that
like?
mean?
Are these like tow behind trailer behind your that would be towed behind your vehicle
Like an
normally?
RV?
Yes, they would all be fifth wheel campers, approximately, I believe the shortest one's 30 foot, the longest one would be 36 foot, but they're all in that range, and fifth wheel campers.
So who owns these campers, these trailers? Who owns them?
The individual who would be living in them owns them.
So you're saying on here, does the assembly hall, are they on a septic system or a sewer system over there?
They are on a sewer system.
So how are you connecting? It says that you're going to be connecting the trailers to the sanitary system?
Yes. So in the case of the maintenance garage, that first building behind the main building, there's a current restroom in there. So we would be tying into the floor clean out inside of that restroom. So using rigid PVC, come into that building and tie into what's existing there. For the back building, the red barn, there is a yard clean out very close to that we would intend to use to tie in for our septic.
And as far as the water that you're bringing into the trailer, how are you bringing that in?
Out of that garage, there is potable water. So we'd be setting up a temporary system for the campers to tie into that out of the garage.
With just like a garden hose, or what type of a?
That building does have spigots on the outside, but also from the inside, there would be capability to tie in to the water system.
Even in the winter months?
Yes, we feel that we could do that in the winter months. We have done that before in temporary settings. It takes a little more work to make sure it doesn't freeze, or we would make use of the holding tanks in the campers. They are equipped to be able to keep the water warm in their holding tanks if we couldn't have that direct line in cold weather.
So it says not to exceed 6 months. Would you have an issue if we put a November 1st stop date on this?
It would definitely be helpful for the extended period, but we would be happy to get what we could.
The reason I just bring that up is that's the date that we, for instance, have to have all our plows ready. You know, there's rarely a hard freeze. I don't know if there's ever been a hard freeze before that date. There's often I guess I would call it a soft freeze, but in other words, where the ice doesn't freeze solid, you get the crust of ice, but
Yeah.
that's typically not enough to burst pipes. You need a hard freeze for that, so. Because that would be my biggest issue. I just don't think from a, connection and sanitary standpoint that makes sense to do that in the winter. You know, one of the things, Mike, going back to your precedent, we could basically mandate that because there is sewer and water connection, most construction sites don't have that.
And the other thing I want to go into your question, Councilman Stafford, is the code actually does, the code actually anticipates this oddly. This is a somewhat unique situation, but it actually has a provision in there that deals with this. It says that it will be unlawful for anyone to park or locate a house trailer to exceed 72 hours when used or occupied as living or sleeping in any part of the town without obtaining a permit from the town board of the town of Henrietta. So it says, there is an exception to the rule if you come and get a permit. So it's not as if we'd be setting a precedent outside of what the code says. The code anticipates this kind of application, it appears. And so if we're inclined to move forward with it, we should narrowly define the terms upon which we're granting the approval. So, I'm not sure how big this area is, but I'm assuming it's not just a small residential lot where they're parking this.
It's very large. Beautiful piece of land up there.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that I think we should point out here, is that we're not squeezing it into some quarter-acre lot in the middle of a neighborhood. These things are being parked on a big piece of land where there's space. We're not changing the character of the area, for example.
Well, we can also say that, more than 120 feet from the nearest property, because they've certainly got that.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like some real restrictions in there so that they can meet. And then if anybody came back to us, you know, hey, we had these in there. Because I just don't want to see it, you know, hey, we're putting up a new building here and now we're gonna have all the workers come in and live in travel trailers.
Right.
Going forward.
I have a question. Mr. Harris, have you seen these travel trailers? Do you have any photos of them? What are their dates of anything?
I have seen one in person. The other two, I have descriptions. I apologize, I don't have pictures of them. Just a general description that the oldest one, I believe, is about 12 years old, very good shape. The other two are relatively new. I would say within about 5 years old. At times, these trailers have all served as housing for the owners while they've traveled and done work before. So they've kept them in very good shape, presentable, and very livable on the inside with everything they would need.
Are these families that are traveling or just individuals?
These are just married couples, so 2 people in each trailer,
Okay, but no children?
no children.
Rob, one of the things, if that's your concern about the quality of the trailer, I can ask Kevin Wilson, if you're listening, would you guys have any issue doing a quick inspection?
Don't see, I was planning on doing that and also requiring electrical inspection. I believe there is some modification that needs to be done to the connections. I've already talked to an electrical inspector on that. He's already been out and visited the site and has let them know what they need to do.
I would say we should have somebody from, I would say electrical, sewer, and water hookups. I would certainly want our sewer folks to sign off on whatever they're doing from a sewer standpoint.
Make sure they're hooked up to the right.
Thanks. So that was my next question about the sewer hookup, saying that we're going to hook up 4 to, sanitary, to the sanitary sewer system for their use for the 6 months. And so from a health standpoint, I have questions about that. And yeah, I think those things should be checked and we should know about those before moving forward with this.
So just as a note, I'm going to use 100 feet for the setback because from our minimum buffer standpoint, that's between multi-dwelling, which we can sort of count these trailers as. It's 100 feet minimum to an existing residential use. So we'll use 100-foot setback.
Where these trailers are located, it almost looks like they would be out of the view from the public. I mean,
Largely.
Is that the case?
Yes, they would be out of the view of the public.
Okay, and even any residents too, also?
So Mike, if you look at the, we'll go back to it. No, you got to go to the aerial.
To give you a little perspective, it's about 20 acres our facilities resting on, just to give you a little bit of a
You are here.
perspective of size.
I'm sorry, could you repeat yourself? I couldn't quite make that out.
Oh, sorry, just the property location is about a little over 20 acres, just so you get a perspective of size of the location we're working with. And it is a commercial location that handles up to 1,400 people on a weekend with sewer demand. So obviously they wouldn't be there. Right now, our facilities are shut down for all assembly. So this would just be handling just those and the people that live on site.
There was a question about potable water. I'm not entirely sure that a hose hookup is potable water.
It is if it's the right type of hose.
Okay.
But again, that's why I wanted electrical, sewer, and water inspections.
Yeah.
So that the sewer would be from our sewer department, electrical would be third-party electrical. Kevin, what will we do for water?
I don't know if the water authority would have any jurisdiction on this as it's private. I would go out and take a look at, I've been a avid camper for many years and, it's just typical garden hose is, like you said, rated for potable water is really all the connection you would need. No, there's no type of, permanent connection that could be made to a travel
Right.
trailer without modifying it.
Right. But just as, like the hoses that connect your sinks are rated for potable water, so.
So the last question I would have that, are there any health department concerns about this happening on the property? Do we have to check with them for this kind of use?
Yeah, I don't know that offhand. I was also thinking about whether this organization has checked with their insurance carrier to see if their insurance would cover any issues that may arise out of this.
I would agree with that. I don't know if that's,
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yes, we have checked and we are covered with this scenario.
so I'm going to run down the list of the notes I've taken so far, and I do know we have at least one hand raised, and there might be people in the audience as well. So we'd be looking at sewer and water connections would be required, 100-foot setback from property line, no children, inspection. Basically, we would require a inspection from our building and fire. We would need an independent third-party inspection for electrical, inspection of the sewer hookup, and/or I would talk to them before you make the hookup with our sewer department, and our director of building and fire prevention will handle the water inspection. And then it needs to be screened from neighbors. Again, I think it already is, but I want to put that requirement on there.
Did you put the setback?
Yep, 100-foot setback
And screen from, but.
and
both,
screened,
right.
yep.
I do have a hand raised in
Yep,
the
I'm
audience.
aware of that,
Okay,
yep. Did I miss any?
Were any of the neighbors in the area?
Well, that's why I think in terms of why there's a hand raised, but
And then the other question I had, just a safety concern, I know, is that, when I go by there, it has a big gate in front. Is that accessible to the fire department at night and things to, with people in there, at night, if there's ever an accident or something, they need to get in?
so that's why I added the fire, our fire marshal for that
Okay.
inspection from building, both the building and fire.
Okay.
So they will definitely take a look at that.
Check the gate.
Yep.
So I'm assuming they'll make sure there's like fire alarms or something like that in there.
And, right, that it meets
Yeah.
whatever code for, I know what the thing I missed is that through November 1st.
If I could, and I know I don't want to wreck the whole thing, if I could interject, could we possibly have it considered to be December 1st? That would be just a little bit more of I know it goes a little bit into that cold weather area, but we're familiar with that and prepared to handle that difficulty, at least for a few weeks there.
So how are you going to heat the hose connections that are running through the outside?
So in the past, when we've dealt with this, we have just unhooked them and then rehooked them up. That's the worst case scenario, because most of these have about a 20 to 30 gallon tank. So they have the ability to run a few days, then you'd have to fill them up and they could coordinate with them. But all the connections would be there, the hose would be there. It would just take a little bit of work to keep them going. At the worst case scenario, that would be the worst case scenario that we'd have to do that, which it's doable, not.
How are the
Well, we hope to be done sooner, but we would just wanted a little bit of slop there, just so we don't have to up and move and just go down to a park that may be closing at that time.
How is the trailer heated? Is it heated?
I don't have the information on each individual trailer. I do know that they have lived in them during cold weather months. That actually just this past winter. All three of those trailers were in use. So I don't have specifics on how each one has
So
been
they're
heated.
usually heated by propane, but I mean, if you guys could provide more information, some photos, and at least we definitely should get you inspected. I camp, and so it's very important that inspections be done on these before use for this long period of time.
So my suggestion is this: for now, I'd feel more comfortable doing it through November 1st. And if you need more time, we can add that with the ability to extend to a maximum of December 1st. But you would have to come back in October if you determine you're going to need it.
Right, don't wait until November 1st. You want to come back at least a month ahead of time, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Be prepared to show us how these things are heated and all that stuff.
Right.
If you need to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Do we want to hear from the,
We do.
You got all that, right? Those, the ones that the fire, that Kevin included. I'm sure he'll do that on his inspection.
All trailers should be equipped with working slope.
CO.
Right. Well, so again, he's going to require that on his thing. So I think that he basically has to, I should say, pass inspection from the fire marshal and building director. Okay, Becky, someone had their hand raised?
Yes, this is R.H. Goldstein, AKA Bob.
Hello, Bob. You're muted if you're talking.
Bob, you'll just need to unmute on your end.
Bob? Is there anybody in the audience while we're waiting Bob to overcome technical issues? Anyone in the audience interested in speaking?
I
Yeah,
did,
go ahead.
I did have one more question. When are these trailers scheduled to arrive?
Approximately, we were trying to get them in like the second week of July, if that would be acceptable.
All three of them are, and there's 3 or 4?
There's 3 at this point. We asked for permission for 4, but at this point we have 3 coming in.
Okay. And are they all coming in at the same time?
Yes, right around the 10th. So within a couple of days of the 10th, we were hoping to get them on site.
I hate to interject, but it looks like Bob has unmuted themselves. Bob, if you'd like to speak, go right ahead.
I may have inadvertently checked in earlier than I should have since I wanted to speak on a different item. I was just checking the system.
We were unable to understand that because you're getting a lot of feedback on your end. Try again.
Okay, hold on. I had inadvertently raised my hand.
Well, if you're dialed in, turn the sound off on your, if you're calling in by phone to speak, turn the sound off on your computer.
Julie's at Zoom.
I had inadvertently raised my hand, just checking the system, and I wanted to speak on another item on the agenda. So I'm going to lower my hand now.
Oh, you want to speak on a different topic on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
You
No
still have,
problem.
yeah, you still have a feedback problem. We can barely understand you.
right, but, okay.
He should listen.
Anybody else who wishes to speak with regards to the Assembly Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses?
I'm just not comfortable.
Kevin, the one question I have, what do we do in terms of coordinating? Can they essentially schedule those inspections now so that it's in the calendar for the 10th?
We will be able to fit them in right around that date. It should not be an issue.
See if we
Okay.
got enough votes. I don't know.
As long as they give us a call here at the building department.
What do you mean, do we have enough votes?
I really don't know.
then you vote no.
Okay, I'm just.
I don't know whether we have, the only way to know is to take the roll.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do the conditions. I'm gonna put the resolution, and if
Okay.
you're not comfortable voting for it, you can either vote to table or you can deny. I'll note if you vote to table, our next meeting is after their intended arrival date. So,
Or you can further talk out your concerns now
right.
and see if any other conditions need to be added or if they can answer any more
So
questions.
again, Rob, going to the trailer, I think it's more important that Kevin and his team inspect it because they're much more, they know more about trailers than I do. I could look at the
True.
trailer and say, oh, it's nice. But I could end up buying one like Homer Simpson bought.
No, I agree with that.
So-
It's just when I'm talking to applicant, they don't know much about the trailers,
Because they're not their trailers. These volunteers
I
are
understand
arriving
that.
by trailer.
but I need to have information so I can vote with some information. And I don't have a lot of information from them. I do agree that our team needs to inspect them.
Right.
Um,
But I guess I have this question. If somebody does a subdivision to build custom houses, they don't know what the house is gonna look like until the buyer comes in and does the custom house. Can you not vote to approve that subdivision because you don't know what the house is gonna look at? Or are you gonna rely on the engineering department making sure it meets engineering, the building department making sure it meets building codes, the fire marshal making sure it meets fire code? That's
I
my,
have to rely on all those people for
Right.
sure. But that's not this particular
okay.
thing. I guess, from a health standpoint, I'm a little uneasy too.
Well, that's why we're gonna have the health department. They have to have health department sign off.
All right, that makes me feel better.
Yep.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so there's gonna be a lot of conditions, so bear with me. And
Okay.
I've written them down. Jen and Becky, I'll type them up in a little bit. So I move that we approve application number 2021-047. Henrietta Assembly Hall of Jehovah's Witness, 272 Farrell Road Extension, to park 4 travel trailers to house volunteer workers for a maximum of 6 months in a residential R115 zone district, tax account number 188.01-1-7.12, or as more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office and posted online with the following conditions. The trailers will require health department sign off, or I should say the whole, how to phrase this? The whole setup with the trailers will require health department sign off. It will require to pass an inspection from the building director and from the fire marshal. It will require an independent third-party electrical inspection. It will require a inspection from the Henrietta Sewer Department. It will require a water inspection from the Henrietta Building and Fire Prevention. The setup must be 100-foot setback from the property line in a location that is screened from neighboring properties. There can be no children housed in the trailers. And it's through November 1st, 2021, with a possible 1-month extension maximum. Okay, got them all.
Second.
That's it. Thank you.
That everything?
That's everything.
Okay.
If it's, so we're up for discussion on the motion as proposed. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything that would make you guys feel more comfortable?
Well, it is in the letter that each travel trailer would house a maximum of 2 volunteers. Does that need to be in the?
We can add that. So.
Yep.
I'll put forth the resolution, amend everything, but right now I'm gonna basically see no children and a maximum. I'm gonna say tenants, not volunteers.
Or adults?
2 adults, there you go. Any others? Kevin, did we miss anything that you would like to have on there?
No, Steve, I think you got everything. Just let the applicant know that, obviously fire extinguisher,
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
put that right in there.
extinguisher, CO detector, fire, smoke detectors. They typically, travel trailers all have a combo unit for CO and explosive gas detectors and smoke detectors.
Okay, so go ahead, Mike.
We
anything
require
else?
them to be, I know we have the 100-foot for the
Property line.
for the property line, but do we have, or should we have anything so many feet from
That's gonna be up to the fire
from
marshal.
another building?
That'll be up to the
Okay,
fire marshal.
that's-
I don't want to put that in
Right.
here,
Right.
that's part of his
Okay.
to pass,
As
yeah.
long as he, okay.
And some of that will also depend on, is it a fire rated wall that they're next to, that type of stuff, so.
Okay. Just tonight.
Yep. Okay, so,
Steve, I apologize. I have one question. You mentioned health department sign off. I'm not sure what that would entail,
None either.
the applicant to ask for or to get that from.
so Rob,
Other than sewer department being connected properly, I'm not sure what health department has to do with this.
Maybe you could revise it to say, notice to the health department and no objection from the health department. Maybe, I'm not sure. I think maybe Kevin's saying they're not in the business of dealing with these
that's
things.
fine.
If they aren't, then they'll tell us that.
Are you good with that, Rob?
How was that gonna be worded?
So it'll be that, that basically, we will notify the health department. And if they object, then they won't be able to do this.
So who's gonna do that? The fire marshal's gonna notify the,
Or the town clerk, someone basically, once we'll send this resolution, explain what, along with their plan and say, do you have any objections to this?
Yeah, compliance with health department requirements, if any. How about that?
I would be satisfied with that. As long as that's really done, I'd be satisfied with that.
Is that the same way like an RV park would have to run as well? Do they have to go through that as well?
RV parks do have the health department come and inspect everything.
Perfect. Yeah, just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay,
Does
go ahead.
does the county have any rules on trailers? I mean, we don't know that, Don. That's a question for Don. We don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know much about trailer law,
Okay.
but I think we resolve that issue by notifying the health department. They'll
Right.
tell us if they want to have anything to do with it or not.
Right. Okay, so I am going to make the motion that we modify the current resolution to change health department sign off required to notify the health department of the special permit request, and that the applicant is required to meet all compliance with the health department. In addition, we will modify the condition for no children. It will say no children and a maximum of 2 adults. And we will add a condition to say that all trailers must have fire extinguishers, CO2 detectors, and smoke detectors. Can I get a second on the
Second.
amendment? Any discussion on the modification? Hearing none, please call the roll on the amendment.
Just a quick question. I didn't get a second on the motion to approve.
You did, Rob Barley.
Oh,
second.
Rob did? Okay. All right, now I'm ready to call the roll. Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Okay, so now we'll be voting on the amendment on the resolution as amended. Any other comments before we call for the vote? Hearing no further comment, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So we'll put this together. I'll type it all up after the meeting. We'll get that out to you. Typically, it goes out tomorrow, but we'll also be sending it to the health department. I would coordinate with our building department. Kevin, can you get them the contact information for our sewer department? I would start with our Commissioner of Public Works, Mike Catalano.
Yep, I will, I'll meet them out in the hallway when you're done here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
They're on.
You know what, I can't, they're not here. That'd be awful difficult.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have resolution number 2021-048, Frontier Management, 2199 East Henrietta Road. Once the subdivision finalizes, the address will be 2205 East Henrietta Road. To construct a car wash in a commercial B1 zone district with a mixed-use redevelopment center district. Tax account number 162.18-2-1.003, or is more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office and posted online. Please introduce yourself and talk to us about your plan.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and members of the board. My name is John Sharaba. I'm with Land Tech, representing Frontier Management this evening. Also in attendance is Mr. Paul White, who's the CFO of Frontier Management and can answer any questions to the operation of the car wash. So Frontier Management is the owner and operator of Town Center Plaza, and the creation of this car wash is kind of their dream and what they want to bring to the marketplace. And so they're looking forward to further developing their property here at Town Center. The total holdings of Town Center is 12.1 acres plus or minus. What we're proposing is to create a 1.2 acre parcel of land to house the 2,800 square foot car wash. So that area that we're proposing is, if you're familiar with the Town Center Plaza, where the big sign is in the sidewalk median, we're going to go north and adjacent to that. And that's where the proposed building is. And then we're going to surround the building with a new property line. The new property line is done, although they're going to own it, so that obviously for mortgage purposes and things such as that and financing, it could be a standalone entity. The site, as you know, it is, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. We have two access points, one full access point to the north side of Town Center Plaza, and then another signalized access point to East Henry Road to the south. So we are not proposing any new curb cuts to East Henrietta Road. All existing utilities, sewer, water, gas, and electric are within our property, and all those utility connections are readily accessible. We've worked extensively with planning staff, planning board regarding the location of this project. And we actually went to the June 15th planning board meeting to review conceptually the plan, and it was very well received. The project itself, as I said, is a 4,800 square foot facility.
20
lanes on the north side of the building, entering the building from the west, driving through the tunnel and exiting on the east. Great care has been taken to make sure that the operation of the existing plaza is self-sufficient. So we've created a 21 spot parking area across from the DMV. The DMV is probably the most heavily trafficked business within the plaza. Where we're proposing the facility is in a very sparsely used area. Paul will tell you, they're very familiar with this property, and they're not an absentee landowner. Their corporate office is located within the plaza. So they're here to own and operate this facility and are very aware of everything that happens on the property. The other part that I'd like to point out that we're very proud of is the fact that we are increasing the green space. Everything you see in bold and green is proposed landscaped open space, green space. We are increasing the amount of impervious by almost 42%. So right now we're 100% impervious. We're creating this big green area, part of our stormwater management. And then we are banking parking and increasing the tree lawn on East Henrietta Road by a minimum of 20 feet. And as you go to the further south to make a better radius to access the entrance, we're increasing that by almost 60 feet. So a lot of green space, a lot more landscaping. is going in to soften this site. The building itself, I think this is a prototype that Frontier has come up with. They spent a lot of time. I feel this is a beautiful building and hope to use this other places in the county and elsewhere. The facility has hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. There will be some off hours during holidays. And also we have 2 to 6 employees operating this facility during a shift. Those numbers do fluctuate based on weather. This is a weather dependent business. And so those things may change. This project, as I mentioned, we did go to the planning board and it was well received, but the director of the engineering department, Chris Martins, has also allowed us to make application to his office. We've made 2 rounds of comments through his office and I don't see any showstoppers at this time. And I really appreciate the effort that the engineering department has done related to the project. You know, this is a B1 commercially zoned property. We feel that this fits in with the character of the plaza. It's going to add a little life to the plaza. It has, with COVID and things like that, it has had some downturn. So we hope you agree and accept this special permit request from us.
So I'll note, as John has been saying, that there has been a bunch of work with the engineering and planning department. Originally, they were looking at having it oriented differently in the parking lot, and we all felt that that would have too much of an impact on the DMV, and so that's when they then turned it this way, and I think that came out a lot better. We did ask them to see if they could increase the permeable surface, and they effectively went overboard, which is great because you know, some of that's land bank parking, but as we know, a lot of the plazas, those seas of asphalt sit empty most of the time. So hopefully they'll never need it, but it's there if they do need it. In the meantime, I'd rather see it green. So you know, kudos on thank you for working with the engineering and planning offices and putting together, you know, a plan that I think will help, because one of the issues we've always had with this corridor is there's not much green in it.
Yeah.
So I think this will be a great addition.
I was just a little concerned with the parking because once DMV gets back up to 100%, you know, right now they're, you know, appointment only, and it's not, you know, not a lot of people there. I'm concerned that will there be enough parking once those spots are taken?
So there is, again, full parking up above. I will note, we
west
had
of
gone
there.
through and looked at a bunch of the satellite images from when the DMV was in use, and that area where they have the parking is where almost all the cars were parked.
Okay.
Which
Now,
is why we didn't want to lose it if the thing was oriented the other way.
do you know offhand which building is the DMV there? Which one of it is?
The DMV entrance is right around here.
Okay.
So parking over here really isn't
Okay.
that big of an inconvenience for the Department of Motor Vehicles as well. And so this would probably accommodate the majority of.
Could you hold on a second? Could you
Oh, the
do me a
mic.
favor and grab the portable mic? Is it green? Just tap it.
Nope, I just gotta find the power button here.
Craig?
The microphone man.
Microphone guy.
Sorry.
I should have paid more attention.
Okay. So I apologize for that. Yeah,
Can you hear him, Becky?
We sure can. It's much better. Thank you very much, Steve.
You bet.
great. Thank you. So we do believe that the existing, the parking that we're preserving will service most of the needs of the Department of Motor Vehicles. And if not, their entrance is not directly across from this through road, but it's pretty close to it.
Right. And the other thing is, so the road, the gray road that you kind of see imposed on there, part of that, just so I'm more familiar with it because I was at some of those meetings, not all of them, but some of them. That's where there's a ATM located down there.
Yep, there's a bank kiosk right here, an ATM kiosk,
So that's kind of why the road
just
sits
on the
where it
south
does.
side of the
Right.
monument sign.
And then the other thing, if you haven't seen in the plans, up the south side of that sidewalk, going up the middle, is where they were gonna have, so on the other side, and this was a great proposal by the developer and as a way to, or was during that meeting, I don't remember who came up with it, but it was a great way to preserve the additional space on the north side by putting the vacuum stations and things like that to the south of that sidewalk.
Yeah, we are going to have our vacuum banks on the south side of that sidewalk area.
Yeah. And the
So that
supervisor.
would- right.
original proposal was to put it out here in front.
Right.
We were able to remove that.
Yeah, so that much better location from a street view frontage. It preserves the cross sidewalk. They're nice and close still to the building. And it keeps those cars out of the flow of traffic of the vehicles going through the car wash. So I thought that was a great solution, whoever came up with it. So I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on some of the stuff that's, was brought up at those meetings and came out of those meetings. Because like I said, I think it's a stronger plan than what went in.
And the only other parking that'll be impacted is there will be a dumpster enclosure, and then we have to have a bailout lane in case somebody can't go through the wash or an emergency vehicle is in line. This quadrant of the parking lot is seldom used.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, the utility companies are staging telephone poles there, and
So John, what is the highest height of this building?
Actually, Paul might be a better person. I think
Okay.
it's be,
I'm gonna,
compliant. I think our code is a maximum of 30, and I know that we're under that, right?
yes, we are. I believe, I thought the code was a little higher than 30 going
might
from
be.
memory. I think we're 27 feet, but I do know that it's a full 10 feet lower than the highest point on the existing plaza. And we tried very hard to work with the architecture here to fit into the plaza itself. 8 years ago, the plaza was purchased by the Shrenza family in Frontier Center. They spent a significant amount of money with the kind of development and enhancing the appearance.
Mhm.
And so we wanted this to stay kind of true to that architecture. Hence, kind of the arch and the same colors and same similar materials. We're very happy with the way that the renderings have turned out.
So approximately, Paul, how many parking spaces, even though they weren't needed in the plaza, were lost for this project?
Parking spaces are 10 by 20, and this is probably about 40.
And we're land banking how many?
We're land banking up front, I would say another 15, but I think we have that in one of our
Yeah,
renderings.
so just to be clear, Rob, parking is not an issue in this particular plaza.
That was my statement, that even though it wasn't so when I was at the planning board meeting, I noticed that at some point you would have this building laterally with East Rainier Road. And I guess one of the comments I heard that AutoZone had a stipulation that they can't be blocked.
Yeah, our ideal location would be to put the building in this quadrant of the parking lot
Okay.
to preserve all of this for the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Mhm.
We have a deed restriction with AutoZone where we can't build in front of
Gotcha.
them and block their road from the view.
Okay.
So, but we can put the vacuum banks over here because that doesn't take away from their view. And we do feel like this is going to be an adequate parking situation.
Okay,
And to answer your question, we are land banking 22 spaces.
okay, thanks.
And this quadrant of the parking lot is seldom, I've never seen it above 50% capacity. Over here, I've never seen it above perhaps 20% capacity, and this is never used.
Chris Martin, could you, while we're discussing this, could you verify what the building height limit is for that area? If you don't know it already. Other questions?
Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning. So typically in industrial or commercial, it's 40 feet. But of course, in our overlay districts, I think it's actually higher than that.
Yeah, but they're not building to the overlay though. They're building to the underlying district, right?
Yeah. But I will double check.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I thought I heard in excess of 40 feet at the planning board. I believe we're 27
Right.
at the peak.
Yeah, Yeah, like I said, I know for the mixed use, we went higher because we were, for the mixed use to work, we realized in this area, they would have had to go vertical. I think for the underlying district, well, my recollection is 35, but I could be off. But either way, it's greater, it's,
Less than that.
in other words, you're under 30. It's absolutely greater than 30.
Yeah, I know well, let's see.
Right across the street from that location, it looks like there's 3 buildings, and it looks like 2 of them on each side are commercial buildings. There's one right in the middle. Do we know if that's a commercial building or a residential? Is that an office?
It's residential currently. I
close.
did actually just check those out again. You have a Tim Hortons, then a residential property, and then Henrietta Dentistry.
Okay.
So it does operate residentially, it appears, but I know it's obviously it's zoned in a commercial area.
Chris Martin, I'm sorry.
What, oh, just sold?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris?
Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning. The magic number is 30 feet.
Thank you.
Can't be higher than 30 feet.
They make it. Is this B2 or B1?
It's B1,
Okay,
but if it's B1 or B2, it's the same.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? Anything from the audience? And that includes online.
Just concerned, a little concerned about if there's any noise for the residents on the other side, how loud the car wash will be, or.
Right. So there's 2 elements of the car wash that are at play here. We have the vac stations that are proposed and the blowers in the facility. We have been requested by the planning board to provide them data. We do have some preliminary data. The vacuums, and I know Paul could probably speak to this, are better. They're 65 decibels 10 feet away from the vacuum, and then they're 47 decibels at 80 feet. We're set back from the road 87 feet, and that 47 decibels is about the ambient sound of the roadway, correct? You know, from
No, 47 decibels is a babbling brook. So 60 decibels is normal conversational
Okay.
speech.
Yeah.
So the vacuums are 65 decibels within 10 feet. Once you get outside of 20 feet, the decibel level is below a normal conversational speech.
Okay.
For the front of or the exit of the car wash, which faces East Henrietta Road, that's where the dryers are, the blower dryers. They're generate the highest decibel level of any piece of equipment on the facility. And those are rated at about 90 decibels at the source. By the time you get outside of the facility, that's dropped. By the time you're 15 feet outside of the facility, it's dropped to 80 decibels. And a passing diesel truck traffic noise is around 85 decibels. So we believe that our car wash will be operating by the time you get to East Henrietta Road at a decibel level lower than the existing traffic.
What's the planned hours of operation?
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we may shorten that due to weather or holidays, but that would be the maximum hours, would be 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, let's just keep in mind that, when the truck passes, it passes and it's gone, with the car-
Understood.
With the car wash running all summer, it's
Yeah,
running all
I
summer,
believe
so-
once you get to Tim Horton, that. Yes,
Thank
acknowledged.
you.
So just for my education, how you manage the water?
The water that's used in the facility goes through an oil water separator, then into the public sanitary system.
Okay.
Any other questions?
It still needs to go through planning board review also, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe we have a prepared resolution for Frontier Car Wash. Was that just to? Oh, okay, it's 2 of them, I see. And then, so is this happening now? Would we read these ones now? This is a question for the clerks, because I don't see a resolution.
Yes. If
Okay.
you're prepared to, yes.
Yep. Any other questions?
So are we doing the seeker determination?
Correct.
Now?
Seeker would be first.
Okay. And then
And then immediately following that in that same resolution is the
Special use.
special use. Before we get to that, this doesn't have. Jenny, did we update? Or am I thinking of a different one? Was there another one we added conditions to?
You added conditions to both. That's the most updated version. You were going to see if you needed to add more during the meeting based on your conversation.
No, I'm just, I think the other one I added the conditions to was Cloud 9. Is that?
Correct.
Okay, I just remember there being more than one, but I just realized it's probably the Cloud 9. Okay, thank you. So I don't know if anybody has any additional conditions.
I know.
Go ahead.
Just a question, sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
A
No, ask a
question,
question.
when, if approved and then approved at the planning board, when do you expect to build and open?
We are, thanks again to Mr. Martin about allowing us to go early. We have a very tight construction schedule. We want to be building and operating by this winter. So we're going to be very aggressive with our construction schedule. So hope to start mid-August and be buttoned up before snow flies.
Do you plan on using local labor or bringing people in from out of town?
I believe everything's going to be local architects, local engineering firms. So
Local general contractor.
Yeah.
Okay. Local workers too, right? Not just the general contractor.
That's the intention. We have every intention.
Thank you.
We're fighting through some supply chain issues and
Right.
everybody's struggling a little bit with labor right now, but yeah, we want to keep everything local.
Thank you.
Any other conditions? The current condition is that the private access drive from Town Center Plaza to Calkins Road shall be paved prior to a building permit being issued for the proposed car wash. And my understanding is you're planning to pave that on the 12th, correct?
I believe we're on our paver schedule for July 12th. Yes.
We're not entitled to commit on this.
What's that?
We're not entitled to commit on this.
I have no idea. I don't know. You can just ask. You're not going for a comita on this, are you?
We just met with the MCDIC and Comida yesterday.
Okay.
And we are looking at a 504 application.
So 504 is for the.
And what is that for the sales tax exemption? And you're not
That
looking
would
to do a
be-
pilot?
We would be requesting a
looking to do a
pilot at
pilot?
some point. My understanding is it a 548B is the code that would fall under the pilot. We're currently evaluating our financing options and Comida is one of them.
Okay. Pilot, reason we're asking is the sales tax exemption, that stuff is not as big a deal for the school district as the pilots create problems with them for the way, unfortunately, the sales tax, or excuse me, the property tax cap is calculated for their budget. New pilots give them issues, so that's why we were just asking. But it's not going to affect how I vote. I'll just say that, like I said, if you can avoid a pilot, it would be preferable for the school district.
Understood.
And I also note that if they have another option that, for instance, sometimes there's, I think it's called BIP, where it basically the improvements get added to your property value over a 10-year schedule. That one isn't an issue because it's on property roll, tax roll 1. Again, it gets into all the complications of real property tax law and how that affects the school district, but that's not an issue. But the one where it's the lease back, that one creates an issue because then it moves to property roll 8, doesn't get to count towards the growth in the town for the school district. And it actually, the formula is so strange, it actually counts against them. I won't waste your time going into it. It's frustrating. I wish they would fix that.
But yeah, it hurts the school district more than it hurts the town. But
Correct.
The town will be out money too.
Right. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, so I will read the resolution. Because they're in printed form, I'm just going to read the summary. I will read the condition when we get to the stuff, but basically it's to accept the secret determination and issue negative declaration for Frontier Management for the Frontier Car Wash application. I guess I should start over. Fellow town board members, propose a resolution to accept the secret determination and issue negative declaration for Frontier Management for the Frontier Car Wash application. Is anyone willing to second?
Second.
I heard Lisa slightly faster.
I think I heard her too.
Just to be clear, that, they had done the part 2 and part 3, and with all the information, basically our engineering department looked into this heavily and felt that there was no issue. And again, from a impermeable surfaces, it's actually improving it significantly. Oh, any further questions on that? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Do you want to read that, Millie? Looks like you're queued up.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the special use permit for application number 2021-048 for the Frontier Car Wash.
And so,
And
sorry,
sorry.
I'll second. And I'll note that the condition is, again, that the private access drive from Town Center Plaza to Calkins Road shall be paved prior to a building permit being issued for the proposed car wash. Any issue with that?
None.
Great. Any other questions, comments?
If you are approved for Comida, how much money do you think you would save between school taxes and town taxes and county taxes?
I haven't done that computation yet. I was under the impression it was only county taxes, that it didn't affect school taxes.
No, it affects town, county, and school.
Well,
Unless they have a different one that I'm not aware of. All the other ones I've seen, it's the 3.
we appreciate the board's support and we appreciate the planning committee's support. And so we're going to do what makes the most sense for everybody in the community.
Right.
For those 3 entities, it would make the most sense. The best for those 3 entities would be that you don't get Comida. And if, for yourself, obviously it is. So I'm just curious.
Right. Well, like I said, the BIP basically allows you to phase that growth in the taxes over 10 years. It basically, if I remember correctly, it's 10% the first year, 20 the second year, 30, 40, up to 100%.
I'll look more into that. That sounds like a better solution for everybody.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
No.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So thank you. Like I said, we look forward to seeing the pave and seeing the additional green space added.
Okay.
And again, you have to finish up at planning board, but good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have application for those, I'll make a note, for those arriving for the town board, we're sorry, the special use permit meeting has gone long. So we're going to finish that up and then we will switch to the town board meeting. Next up, we have application number 2021-049, Cloud 9 Hookah Lounge, 2755 East Henrietta Road, to operate a hookah and cigar lounge in a commercial B1 zone district with mixed-use redevelopment center district. Tax account number 176.06-1-75.121, or as more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office and posted online. Planned hours of operation are from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Friday, 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday, and 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday. Yes. Okay, could you say your name and your
Harith
affiliation?
Abdul. So last time we had a meeting, we were waiting for the church to notify the Henrietta town for it's okay for us.
I'm getting confused.
Is this Cloud9 or?
Is this Cloud9?
No.
Okay,
Sorry.
Cloud9.
You guys are, there's two at the same time. I was gonna say,
Yeah, I was
you
just
guys
about
are
to
Aladdin.
say.
Yeah,
I didn't want to cut in, so.
no problem.
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
Thanks. Good. My name is Michael.
Your name's Mike?
We need a license.
Yeah, could you say your full name
Michael
and
Saad,
your,
SAAD.
okay, and your affiliation? Are you, would you be the owner or you the
Correct.
property owner?
Correct.
You'd be the operator of the lounge?
That is correct.
So, you know, a couple issues with this. From all my reading, I saw no carve out in the New York State smoking code that would allow a cigar lounge. Are you familiar with?
Yeah, and I had emailed and talked to them that it's not going to be a cigar lounge. I had talked to, if I'm not mistaken, is it Jennifer?
Yes.
Yes, and Miss Miranda, I think her last name was.
Yep.
And I did tell her that I am not doing a cigar lounge anymore. I took that out because there's too many regulations with it.
Right. Are you familiar with the regulations regarding the hookah lounge in terms of the requirement that all employees either have to be owners or volunteers, that they cannot be paid?
So anybody that's working in that place cannot have a salary at all? So it has to be.
My understanding of the carve out, it's a strange carve out. If you're not familiar with it, I would suggest that maybe what we do is we table this, you dig into it more. Because I also question whether that, one of the things I don't know legally is whether that also has to apply to, for instance, bands. If a
For instance,
band, if you were talking about wanting to
Yeah.
have musical entertainment,
correct.
I assume they're gonna want to be paid.
Well, the good news is I'm one of the band members. so
Oh,
I'm
there
good.
you go.
They see.
So
I thought of that first.
That makes it safer.
it could be a solo act. So like I said, there's a bunch of restrictions on
Yeah.
hookah lounges. So the third thing I'll say, if your intention is to go forward at some point to include cannabis, that.
No,
Okay, because
that's
this
absolutely
location
not.
is not.
This is more of a, like a family kind of thing we're doing, like
Right.
adults, obviously. But the thing is, I've never heard of the first thing you said, they have to be owners, because I've been in many New York hookah lounges. I mean, not here, obviously, closer down to Yonkers and City and all. And there's waitresses and, guys, people that work there, and I know they're not owners. So I'm very confused on that regulation.
Were they operating, if they were operating before a particular date, they may have been grandfathered in.
Exactly. I have no idea when the date was, but if that is, when did this policy come through? I mean, when was this something that's new? Because I've never heard of it.
So.
Yeah, I think,
Okay, go ahead, Don.
I think what I would say is it's not really, respectfully, it's not really our job to tell you how to run this thing in accordance with the law.
Okay.
But I think as a courtesy, the supervisor here is kind of tipping you off to some regulations that are in place.
Sure.
So I don't want to get into the weeds on when the state adopted what law and what applied to the ones you're at. But we just had a hookah application before us a month or two ago, and we dug into this a little bit, and it appears to say that these are supposed to be volunteer member organizations. So
Almost like a club,
Right.
social
like a
club.
members
It has to be a
club.
private club or so.
Yeah, so what I would just suggest is, and we'll pull up what the contact the clerk's office. So my suggestion is this, we'll table this application. We'll pull up you can contact the clerk's office tomorrow. We'll get what regulations numbers we know. So we'll just give you the law, the New York State law numbers, and you can look that up. But you're gonna really want to dig into it, because
Absolutely.
when the anti-smoking laws came into place, they shut a lot of this stuff down, but they had specific carve-outs, but they were very, I'll call it onerous for the business. Now, I think the concept behind it is this, and again, this is just me speculating. I think what they're looking at is that when people are paid, that there is sort of they could be caught in a financial situation where they have to put themselves in harm's way with regards to smoking in order to continue to get paid. Whereas an owner or a volunteer, they don't have that financial advocate. That's all I can figure, but that's again, you'd have to talk to somebody from the Assembly or Senate, since they're the ones who created the law. But that's my understanding of why they created it the way they did. But like I said, I would highly recommend you dig into that thoroughly. And again, we'll table this. You can, if you're ready, let us know and we can have it on the next agenda, which would be July 9th or 21st. But I would not recommend you go forward with this right now until you've read up on the changes in the laws.
Sure. I'm not sure if the location will still be available for me because obviously they're on me as well to make a move or, I got to move on.
Right.
It's obviously a pretty hot spot and on East Henrietta Road. So my thing is, if I extend this a little longer and I lose a spot, basically I'm have to start all over again because that spot is no longer available. And that's the kind of, and I know where you're coming from exactly, believe me, and I want to work with whatever we have to do here. There's other questions also in my mind I need to figure out too, because if there's also issues with them, then it doesn't make any sense, obviously, for us to do this. One is definitely, we have to have drinks and stuff in there. We cannot do no sodas or smoothies, like we're thinking of doing a smoothie bar, whatever the case is. And if that's not allowed with a hookah lounge, that means there's no whatsoever financially a way to be able to pay them more.
When you say drinks, are you saying alcohol?
No alcohol. These are smoothies like, strawberry, banana, just regular drinks like soft drinks and fresh juices.
Right.
Nothing to do with it. There's no alcohol allowed in the vicinity. And they told me you can't have customers bringing in their alcohol, which I said, there's no problem with that. Since it's a regulation, I won't have that happen,
So again, you can go forward with this if you want, but I will tell you, I, for one, without having the details and making sure that you fully understand those rules and are in compliance with them, I, for one, would not vote to approve this special use permit as it sits today. So I understand the situation you're in, and I'm sorry about that, but again.
No, Mr. Supervisor, this is the first I've heard of this.
Okay.
And it's actually shocking to me. I mean, I'm not going to get 6 owners, become my friends, may have 6 owners running the place. It's going to be tough.
I absolutely understand, but like I said, it's not our law. It's
the regulations. Yeah, you got to follow the rules. Yep. Nobody's above them. I just need to find out where I can find this in writing from these guys. So if you can send some my way, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If that spot is still available when we find out for the next meeting, I'll be back. If not, so be it.
Did the board in the interim now, while he's here, want to talk to him about the location?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's what I was just.
Yeah.
I, for one, have some concerns about the location.
Sure.
Residential place across the street, houses across the street,
Yeah.
ice cream shop next door. I'm not, and I was just going through here real quick. Hours of operation again? The hours.
I've written up.
It's on the sheet.
5 PM to 1
Okay,
AM.
I'm sorry. Yep.
He's got it on the sheet.
Yep, sorry.
No problem.
Is it, but those are the correct.
Yeah, I mean, again, those are also, we can work with those. But as far as the residential area, obviously I drove down the street a few times just to see what you guys were talking about, just to make sure. And of course, the residential is basically over 100 yards on the other side, like a football field away. I mean, so they're not right next to the place itself. It's across the street on East Henrietta. So, and as far as what we're doing, there's really, I'm guessing you're talking about the music aspect of it.
Yeah, that's when I saw the band that was,
So this is just a 2-piece band with probably a speaker. So it's just going to be held pretty quietly. We're not going to try to disturb any residential neighborhoods. And remember, this is not every day. It's maybe once a month, maybe twice a month if we are doing well. So we'll try it out once a month. And if it does well, we go for 2 times a month. Other than that, we're not doing it every weekend.
So I do live in that neighborhood
Yeah.
and, you know, you do clearly state in your letter that this is an adult establishment and that particular plaza is very much a family plaza.
Yeah.
Well, with the pizzeria and the Chinese restaurant,
Yep.
food restaurant
Yep.
and the ice cream
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, the hookah side of it, obviously you have to be an adult to be in there. But the smoothie side of it, where the people can come in, order smoothies and stuff, and then leave from the other side of the door, totally two different entrances. So on one side, when you walk in, there's a glass door, and it goes squared off. So if you want to come into the hookah lounge, you go to the left. You want to go to the smoothie lounge, you make a right. And in between, there's a wall. I think it's going to separate them. So there's no way they can get from one to the other. So I'm trying to split them up to where if somebody with their kids want to come in and have a smoothie, they can go on the other side, take them and leave. And then if they want the hookah lounge, they go on the other side and then they can do their thing.
So one of the concerns I have is parking.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone over there for ice cream and things like that, and the parking is really tight.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious, you know, as to where the parking is going to occur there for what you're looking for.
Well, like any business, I mean, the parking spots in front of our places we have, and then in the back of it, there's parking spots and it's shared. So, you know, I can say the same thing about the ice cream place too. Like, you know, we have spots, they have spots, and we're all going to be using the same facility. And I don't think my hours of operation, obviously, it's not going to affect the pizzerias and the Chinese takeout, because most people are doing takeout or delivery. So the only thing would be the ice cream shop that people come in, take their ice cream and leave. And that would be the only place I would say that would, we'll be sharing more of the spots together as in the evening.
What are you anticipating as far as the number of customers that you could have in there if, let's say, if you're doing the music
Mhm.
in the hookah part?
Well, we don't know exactly how many tables are going to be able to be seated. Like, we're going to try to arrange it where maybe it's a 4-top, a 2-top, 4-top, 2-top. So, and then based on the size of that room, I would say whenever the tables are filled, that's it. We are done. Like, we cannot exceed that amount. So I would have to say, to answer your question, just going off a guess, I would have to say maybe 30 to 45, I would say, people that would fill that room up. And once the tables are filled, unfortunately, nobody else, you will tell them we're just booked. So they have to leave.
Does anybody online have questions?
Yes, that's the one that Bob wanted. This is the one that Bob wanted to comment on. Bob?
All right, I'm just going to try to get you unmuted, Bob.
Have I succeeded?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Mr. Vice, town board members, I have a number of comments I wish to make with regard to this issue. But since it's going to be tabled, should I wait to present my comments until the time that the issue comes back before the town council? Or would you like to have me proceed now?
I would like you to say them now. That way we have more time to think about them. And that way also, if for some reason you're unable to attend, we'll have heard them.
Fine, I'd be happy to accommodate that. Let me identify myself. I'm Dr. Robert H. Goldstein. I live at 29 Horseshoe Lane South in Henrietta. I've been a resident of Henrietta since 1961. I am by profession a licensed clinical psychologist and licensed to perform psychological services since 1958. I am currently a professor emeritus in the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Rochester Medical School. During the many years that I was active, and emeritus, you may know, is a honorary title given to a somewhat distinguished old coot who's somewhere between retired and expired. But I'm emeritus faculty now, although I am conducting a full-time private practice of clinical psychology. In that practice, I see a number of people with problems with addictive behaviors. In fact, during the many years that I was at Strong Memorial Hospital, I was the clinical director of the 3-9,000 unit in what was often referred to as R wing. And for several years, I was responsible for a 32-bed treatment program for people with addictive disorders and substance abuse problems. So this is an area that's been of considerable concern to me. I should also indicate that I've been very concerned about the youth of our community, as exemplified by the fact that I spent 12 years as a member of the West Henrietta Board of Education and 4 years as president of that board. So I am not someone who is new to the issue of being concerned about our young people. Earlier this month, I sent a letter to Supervisor Schultz, and I'd like to enter much of that letter and make some additional amplifying comments. And I'd also like to have the opportunity to ask the applicants questions. So would that be acceptable if I were to ask the applicant questions, or should I ask the supervisor questions and he can put them to the applicant? Do you have any preference as to how to proceed?
I had trouble hearing your question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think you can ask your questions.
Go ahead.
In addition to the issues I want to present, I have some questions for the applicant, but I don't know whether it'd be better for me to raise them directly with the applicant, or for me to raise them and then have the supervisor or the chair of the meeting raise those questions with the applicant.
You can ask them of us.
Okay, very good. In early June, I wrote a letter to Supervisor Schultz, in which I indicated my objection to the special permit applications that will be considered by the town for 2 hookah lounges, which have submitted requests for approval. And I request that those applications be denied. There are a number of reasons for my expressing that opinion, and I'll go through some of these with you. Hookah smoking is a clearly documented danger, a serious danger to the health of hookah users, as well as to those in the environment in which that activity is conducted. While proponents of this behavior sometimes assert that it is less harmful than cigarette smoking, that is simply not true. Ingestion of any kind of smoke coming from any source, particularly anything that contains addictive nicotine, as well as other numerous toxic substances by a hookah, is just as dangerous. It can cause the same harmful and potentially lethal effects as any other mode of smoke inhalation. In fact, because hookah smoking typically involves many more inhalations than smoking a cigarette, it's estimated that 1 hookah session is equivalent to about 100 cigarettes in terms of the amount of smoke that's taken in, because of the length of time during which a hookah session is conducted. And so the cumulative effect of 1 hookah session is far greater. It should be pointed out also that hookahs involve a process in which the smoke is passed through a bowl of water. The passage of hookah smoke through the water does not actually filter anything out. It simply acts as a coolant that cools the smoke so that it can be taken into the mouth and into the lungs more comfortably. It is not a filter of any sort. Even the use of non-tobacco products, and I understand that this is one of the things I want to ask the applicant about, whether his plan is to have tobacco or non-tobacco hookah, or what they call shisha, which is a substance that is burnt in the hookahs. Even those non-tobacco substances subject the user to exposure to carbon monoxide and potentially dangerous levels. Carbon monoxide, which, as everyone knows, is a toxic, deadly poison. Also, it subjects the user to charcoal smoke, which contains a multitude of toxins. Even hookahs, which operate via electric burning methods, do not reduce the risk involved. The applicant indicated that the hookahs that he was going to use would be using charcoal burners, and that's the major source of carbon monoxide. The burning of charcoal produces carbon monoxide that is not filtered through the smoke, and even having a hood over the burning area does nothing to reduce the amount of carbon monoxide, because the carbon monoxide is in the gas that goes through the smoke and out through the pipe into the user. It's not in the ambient air. So carbon monoxide is a direct influence on whoever smokes a hookah. Now, I understand that the applicant is an ethical business person who hopes simply to make a profit from running a nice business. He describes the process as one in which people will be friendly and get together and have a nice time. That sounds very good, and I cannot object to anyone wanting people to have a nice time. But that's exactly the same kind of argument that was used by the tobacco industry or other types of products that have been available in our society. Just give people what they want, and that's not our responsibility. What I think it is the responsibility of someone who provides such a substance or such a service to be sure that that topic or that service is not dangerous or potentially lethal to the people who that service is being provided. As you may know, many large corporations such as the Target Company and CVS have totally eliminated tobacco sales from their stores. Now, I don't know whether the applicant intends to use tobacco-based hookah or non-tobacco-based hookah, and maybe that's something that we can ask at some point. Many states and many cities have greatly restricted the operation of hookah lounges, and New York City has closed the issuing of permits to new hookah establishments, while strictly and sharply restricting the operation of existing hookah bars. The most pernicious aspect of this business is that it's very oriented towards younger population. And the most recent research that's been done indicates that approximately 40% of college students use hookahs at some point. But I want to be sure I'm pronouncing that. It's OHS, not ER. Hookah, not hooker. So 40% usage in many college communities. And it's probably not incidental that the location of this particular establishment will be very adjacent to RIT, since that provides a very convenient population of young people who are interested in trying out what may seem to them to be interesting and useful experiences. There are a number of myths about hookah that are widely held by the young population. They are myths, however. For example, many hookah smokers believe that it's a safer alternative to cigarette smoking. The fact is that the chemicals associated with cigarettes are exactly the same in hookah tobacco products. In fact, in several studies that are conducted, and I could provide you with the references on those, it turns out that comparing a tobacco hookah smoking with non-tobacco hookah smoking, the only difference is that tobacco hookah ingestion involves nicotine. Otherwise, the same toxic chemicals are present in both non-tobacco and tobacco hookahs. It's also a myth, as I mentioned, that the water inside the hookah filters out the harmful substances, and that simply is not the case. It simply cools them. It has no filtration effect whatsoever. The hookah users also believe that the smell and taste and smoothness of the sweetened and flavored substances of shisha.
Bob?
Yes.
This is going really long. We've got an audience full of people waiting to move on. I'm going to have to.
Well, let me conclude then briefly. The questions I'd like you to put to the applicant, if you would.
What?
No, just no. What are the substances that will be in the shisha, which is the product that is being used in the hookah? What kind of filtration is anticipated to occur?
Right.
How will the air handling be handled? I've seen an application that contains information about the air handling, but the research indicates that there's no effective way of reducing the danger to the hookah users. It may clean out some of the air, but the hookah user is those toxic substances. So those are some of the questions I'd like you to raise to the applicant. Also, one final point is, I noticed that the letter that the applicant sent to the town, he identifies himself as Michael Giordano.
Okay, Bob, I had to cut you off here. We really got to get moving. The quality of your sound makes it hard for us to understand a lot of stuff. You're going into very technical stuff. If you could put that in a brief, if you will, and send it to townboard@henrietta.org, we will take a look at that. But it's just gone on way too long, and we've got a room full of people. We've got to move on. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Thanks for getting it.
Thank you for the information. And like I said, we would like to look at that and follow up with it. But if you could get this to that in written form, that would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in written form. I for one had a very difficult time understanding a lot of it, and I'd like to read it more.
So going back to the New York State law, amongst others, again, to our attorney's point, it's your responsibility to figure out what code laws are applicable. But I would suggest you look at 13E of the New York State Public Health Laws, specifically 1399Q. And this is in regards to the, I think it was called the Clean
Indoor Air Act.
Clean Indoor Air Act. And it basically talks about, Q talks about the exceptions to where you can allow smoking inside. And, you know, again, you basically have to meet one of those conditions in order to be able to have smoking inside.
If it involves cannabis or tobacco, that is something it looks like.
Cannabis, tobacco, vapor, they expanded it last year.
E-cigarettes.
E-cigarettes, shisha, it includes anything like that. So that's like I said, they basically expanded it. I think it was last year or the year before. So that's what I would highly recommend. So are you good with us tabling this? You know, if you want to withdraw the hookah portion and just do the smoothie portion, we could take a look at that. But like I said, I understand your situation that you may not have the space, but I just can't in good conscience. And again, I can't speak for my fellow board members, but I just can't good conscience approve this with so much up in the air with regards to the hookah.
Right. No, I'm with you 100%. You know, like the first regulation that you gave me just basically struck me out a little bit, you know, because
basically it gets into like one of the exemptions is membership associations shall only allowed in membership associations, and it goes into a bunch of stuff, not limited to. So it gets into some of that stuff. Again, you would need to demonstrate to us that you meet that requirement.
Okay.
And one of the exemptions, one of the ways to do that is, again, it's not the only way to do stuff. But one of the ways to accomplish that is that essentially it's all volunteers. There may be other ways that I'm not aware of because I've never tried to open up a hookah lounge, but you're going to need somebody to look at these regulations because they're non-trivial.
Yeah, they're, and the other question I had, I mean, let's just say if we get past that point, as far as we're okay to have drinks and all that stuff with the hookah lounge, correct?
Again, you'd have to, it does mention something about the service of food and drink is incidental to such purpose. So I don't know, again, you're going to have to look in.
I understand food. My understanding of it is that you can't serve any food.
Again, you know, I don't want us to be advising you on state law.
Right.
I think you need to look at the Clean Indoor Air Act and then come with us and give us your proposal
and how you comply with that act. Because again, there's a bunch of different ways you can deal with it. You're gonna have to figure that out. But
all right, fair enough.
Right now, I've seen nothing in the application that indicates that you do comply. So
yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I have one question. Mike, who is Michael Giordano?
It's me. It's my mom's last name. I used to.
Okay.
So it's
All right. Just wanted to make
No
sure I
problem.
knew that too. Thanks a lot.
You got it, sir.
Yep.
I'm all
I
good.
make a motion, we table application number 2021-049, Cloud9 Hookah Lounge.
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Last up, thank you. Sorry, didn't go the way you wanted it. Next up, we have application number 2021-042, Aladdin Hookah Spot Inc., 376 Jefferson Road, to operate a hookah lounge in a commercial B1 zone district with a mixed-use redevelopment area overlay district. Tax account number 161.07-1 4.2, as more particularly described in plans on file in the town clerk's office and posted online. Planned hours of operation are from 4 PM to 1 AM, Sunday through Thursday, and 4 PM to 2 AM, Friday and Saturday. This is a continuation from the May 26th, 2021 meeting. One of the requirements we had asked you guys to provide was a letter from the nearby operation. There's a congregation that operates out of that plaza. We did receive a letter from them saying they had no issues with it. Again, as previously discussed, you had that Jenny, is the latest version of this conditions of the potential possible approval, is that
In the OneDrive, yes.
folder? Okay, thank you. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, and before you move it, I would just suggest, since it seems to be the central regulation on this, to add a comma at the end of 1 and say including but not limited to the New York State Clean Indoor Air Act.
Okay.
And I just changed it on my side so I can send it out.
Okay, sounds good. So right now, in addition to what we've talked about previously, if we were to approve this, and I don't know that we will, there would be the following conditions. I want to make sure you guys are okay with that. That such operation shall remain compliant with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, comma.
I'm just sending this off to the clerk's office, but comma, including but not limited to the New York State Clean Indoor Air Act.
Okay.
Most definitely, yes.
The hours of operation shall be Sunday through Thursday from 4 PM to 1 AM and Friday, Saturday from 4 PM to 2 AM. I guess we should say, I'd like to rephrase that. We shouldn't
Okay.
dictate that those are the hours, but that they cannot operate outside those hours. So it's that way you can shorten it if you want, you just can't go longer, okay? And that 3, that this just makes clear the special use permit allows for hookah, oil spice smoking only, so shisha does not authorize the smoking or sale of cannabis related products. Do you guys agree with all those?
Yes,
Yep.
we are.
Does anybody need a review of what their proposal was? If you remember, their building was properly ventilated so that it was negative pressure, so that when the door opens, smoke doesn't go out, but clean air comes in. It was isolated from other buildings. It had sufficient ventilation. They were doing it as the clause under that 1399Q, which is essentially the membership, so that the people are either owners or volunteers. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so that's the portion of the Clean Air Indoor Air Act that they were that would be operating under. I guess, should we put that as a condition, since that's what they've put forth to us?
The membership corp?
That it continues to be.
Well,
my issue is, I don't want them to change that without them coming back here and us knowing that the change is still compliant with the Clean Indoor Air Act.
Well, I think if we just put compliant with the New York State Clean Indoor Air Act, we don't need to get into that, because I do think just looking at that act, there seems to be some distinctions based upon whether it's a tobacco product or not. And I'm not sure how into that we really want to get, other than saying, what's your intention? Okay, it looks to align with that. We'll leave it up to the state and you to figure out the details.
Right. I'm fine with that. Everyone agree with that?
I would just like the applicant to kind of explain to the audience and those online what their plans are for the lodge again, for your club, if you would.
As I mentioned last time.
Could you move a little closer to the mic? Thank you.
So I think we talked about it last time. It's a hookah launch. It's just strictly for people over 21 years old. Our operating hours as shown. We're gonna have a membership plan. We haven't figured exactly what's our plan, but we will have a membership. Most likely, it'll be more of a regular customer that comes than just a lot of people, because there's only certain people. So we will run a membership cards for our clients. You know, music wise, it's only a background music, so something smooth, you know. It's something like a place where people can meet and talk without getting disturbed by the music. It's simple, basically.
Will there be any alcohol served there, any other drinks, any
No,
food?
no alcohol will be served, no alcohol will be allowed in. We will not be serving food.
Any other questions?
No.
Anything from the audience? I've not heard, unlike with the other one, I mean, the general objection that Bob expressed with regards to any type of inhalation. I will note that I did receive some complaints about the previous one. I didn't receive any complaints about this one, although for some reason, somebody was calling RIT and mad at them. I don't know why, because it has nothing to do with RIT, but
I do, Bob does have his hand raised. I'll leave that up to you.
it's Bob, it has to be very brief.
Can you hear me?
I
Yes.
can.
Much better.
Okay. Again, I simply want to add that the same comments that I made with regard to the prior application, which I will be happy to amplify in written form, apply to this application. I object to it and ask the board to deny this application.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Are we ready to put it to vote? Fellow board members, I have the following resolution to approve special use permit application number 2021-042 for Aladdin Hookah Spot Inc. for a hookah lounge.
Second.
With the following conditions, no problem. Such operation shall remain compliant with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, comma,
including but not limited to the New York State Clean Indoor Air Act.
thank you. Two, the hours of operation
Shall be within. or
shall be within Sunday through Thursday from 4 PM to 1 AM and Friday to Saturday from 4 PM to 2 AM. And three, that the special use permit allows for hookah, oil, spice, shisha smoking only, and does not authorize the smoking or sale of cannabis-related products.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Nay.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You know, again, we understand the nature of this one is a bit different than the other one. It's more, I'll call it cultural. Please adhere to that, all the New York State regulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you.
That concludes our special permit meeting agenda. We're gonna go, if you guys don't mind, we'll go, my proposal is this, let's go right into the town board meeting. We'll have the presentation and the special resolutions, and then we will take a slight break for.
Okay.
So, again, I apologize to all those in the audience who wait. Every single application, it seems today went extra long. That sometimes happens. And thank you for being patient.
Just to clarify, would you like to restart the YouTube video?
Absolutely. I don't want anyone having to sit through all of that in order to get to.
Okay, for those on YouTube, you're just going to have to rejoin in just a minute here. Those on Zoom can sit tight. We'll be right with you.